Now, first of all, it was real easy to figure out how to do the pickups in this solo because the drums are playing triplets. Da-da-da-da-da-da, I mean, da-da-da-da-da-dam. So, obviously, with the triplets happening, I'm going to play that rhythm for pickups because it's exciting. And that would look like this in slow motion. Even slower. Okay, now to do the solo at that speed is going to be a little too slow, so let me just take it up a little quicker. Okay, now that's the first half. Now basically, there might be a harmonic here I'm missing, but whatever. These are the notes. I mean, when I play this thing, it's feel-wise. I'll never play it the same way twice. It just won't happen. Now the second half of the solo, a little trick that I like to use is an octave. So I've played the bottom octave. Now I'm going to play the second half of the solo. I'll play the high octave part. The bottom octave part's obviously an octave down. It's pretty much the same thing. So here we go. Here's something that I always wanted to discuss with guitar players in a group. Don't copy me. You can learn the solos and then forget the solos. Just remember the scale type movement or the flow. Then make the notes yours. I know I'm kind of confusing you, but what I mean is don't copy it verbatim. Don't try to play the exact same phrasing. You'll sound like me. We don't need another J. Graydon. There's already one. You need to be what you are. And here's the perfect example. The opening lick of the solo goes. Okay? Don't play it just like that. Make it yours. Change it. Make it like anything different, just to change it up some. I'm not saying, you know, totally disregard these solos. I'm saying learn them for shapes. See how scales work in certain shapes. See how fingerings work. And then kind of make them yours. That's the bottom line. So anyway, now what we're going to do is I'm not going to play the front of the solo because I don't even know what I played. It's too greasy and too much feeling going on. I don't know exactly what I did. But I do know a couple of difficult spots. And those I shall show you as it goes by. So here we go. She just can't make up her mind. Okay, the situation with this solo is, once again, like I said, I'm not showing you the front stuff because I don't even know what I played. Okay, so basically, you can analyze how the chords work out with that. It's a nice little laying figure. It's not as hard as it seems. Now, the last figure of this phrase, I don't know exactly what I did. But once again, since it's a feeling type thing, who knows? I'll show you what it kind of looks like. Now, that's kind of the shape. That's not the total shape, but that's kind of the shape. Up the tempo, I don't have a clue what it is, to tell you the truth. I just know what the shape looks like. And once again, here's what it looks like. That's all based over G flat 9 or whatever. That's all, like I say, G flat dominant. The last half of the lick is based on F sharp 9, sharp 5. That kind of tonality, and looks something like this. Now, as you can see, I'm not picking all those notes. I'm like picking every third one, basically. I'll do it slower. Now, up to speed. I'm trying to do the whole thing, kind of. Here we go. A point that I want to make now is what to do when you're playing fast, when you're playing solos, how to mute strings around it, okay? I'll show you a few techniques. Larry Carlton likes high action on his guitars. I like low action. Larry likes high action, so when he bends a string, he can actually, he's got thin kind of fingers this way. Can you guys see that? Okay, so what happens is, with his thin fingers this way, he can bend up under a string with high action, and what happens is, he actually gets his fingernail under the string, that, like the D string, for example. I'm bending the G string up under the D string at this point, okay? Now, that's one way he gets strings out of his way. I have very fat fingers this way, so I can't do that. And also, I prefer very low action. So what I do to mute strings when I'm playing is if I bend up, I ram the pick into the string that's right above it. For example, the D string. I'm bending on the G string, and I pull the D string out of the way with my pick. Okay, this is really a handy thing to do for me, and it makes for playing guitar synthesizer very difficult because the guitar synthesizer thinks a note's being triggered when I do that, so you have to totally change your technique if you're going to play guitar synthesizer. So, once again, bend up the G string, I get the D out of the way, I'm pulling it out of the way. Now, when I'm soloing playing, always both hands are very conscientious of trying to keep other strings from not ringing. For example, if in the key of C, now you can see what's happening. I've got, as soon as I quit playing the high E string, actually I never did play it, my fourth finger is resting on it to mute it. So the picking the B string, pop down to the G, now I'm actually muting the B string with the pad of this finger that's not really doing anything right now. So constantly, back and forth, I'm doing my best to have strings not ringing by muting. This hand over here is pretty much covering the low three strings, the E, the A, and the D, so I'm always conscious of trying to get these strings muted while I'm playing solos. Once again, an example. Bending the B string. Right now, nothing else can ring because my little fingers stop on the E, my thumb and pick are jammed into the G, and my thumb is resting on the three low strings. So work out your own technique for doing it. This is the way I do it. If you don't do it, you're going to get strings ringing around all the time, and it really gets ugly. You really want to try to get the muting thing happening on strings you're not playing. Most important. Okay, this song, Holdin' On to Love. Let me show you how the solo goes. I want to play that last lick again. Boy, it's sure weird playing these things slow, I gotta tell you. It's like I don't think that way, you know? Anyway, a couple things in the solo that I want to talk about. First of all, there's a technique that I use all the time that really helps for string skipping. I'll show you what I mean. Like, in this little lick that goes... What happens here is, I use my fingers all the time. I'm rocking back and forth with the pick and fingers. I could go, so again. But up to speed, that would be very difficult to go. And would sound stiff, but listen how I can do it with rocking. Better example. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can gain all this extra speed by using your fingers, and I do it all the time in my playing. So, if you can get into that technique, you're going to gain a lot of string skipping playing that you normally wouldn't be able to do with a pick. We'll get into more of this as the solos go on, because it'll pop up again. Also, what I wanted to explain... This solo was originally played on the Ed Van Halen model guitar over here, which I'll show you in a minute. It's a typical thing for me to do this type of playing, I guess, about 15 years ago in the Airplay era. It's a very winding type guitar solo. But, you know, it's definitely part of my style, and I enjoy it. So I'll kind of play it for you slow. What you'll see is the winding aspect of, like, this melodic bending that's kind of going in and out. And then there's one lick that's another traditional type thing that I do, and I'll explain it after I show you slowly. Let me see if I can play this slowly. It's so hard to play these things slow. I mean, I can't get any groove going. But anyway, I'm showing you the fingering, so that's why I'm doing it, right? Okay. Now, there's a couple of licks in here well, there's one lick in general that needs some explanation. After the front lick, it goes. Okay, now watch the fingering with my right hand. Watch what I'm doing over here. You don't actually have to do this, but once again, for me, it's the cleanest way to do it. You see I'm going. This is the key here. You could go. But also a lot more stuff starts ringing around that way. This way you can still keep everything muted because you've got all these other fingers and, you know, to anchor down strings that aren't ringing. See, right now I got both these the fourth and third fingers holding the E and the B string, and the palm of my hand is catching the B and the E string and the A string. So basically, the two strings that I'm playing on are the only two strings that are actually ringing or resounding at any level at all. Anyway, that's the story with Roxann. Everybody's got favorite licks. Whether you want to rely on them or not, you do. You come back to them when you run out of ideas. It might be fast licks, whatever. The whole bottom line to licks is that it's cool because that's just life. That's the way it goes. And a lot of times, if they're your favorite licks, they're usually pretty musical and a lot of fun. And I'll show you a few of those now. I'll play it as slow as I can, but I'll just play it a bunch of times, okay? First of all, I'll play it kind of normal speed, whatever that is. I'll try to play it slower. Okay, that's one shape. Back up to speed. Now we're talking this kind of over A minor, okay? One more time. Now you can change the shape. When you get this fingering together, you can change the shape to all kinds of different scales. Let's do it diminished. So, once again. Now, you can make it major. Here, this is the major seventh type approach to that. Over that type tonality. You can just make the tonality whatever you want to make it. It's just this fingering, this bouncing action, hammering on, pulling off thing that's kind of cool. Now, another shape that I like to use is a diminished thing. Check it out. I'll just show you. I'll play it. Now, once again, I broke that up. I even got out of diminished land at the very end a little bit. But it's just a shape, and you play around with it. You know, shapes. That's what we're talking about. Scales and shapes. Another thing I like to do is licks like that. A lot of hammers and pulls. I mean, they're just shapes. Basically, it's picking when I change strings, typically. Dancing around, I do a lot of, meaning slurs. I do my best not to pick. Like, let me get back to the buzz. You can see how much my hand's moving, but watch how many times I'm really picking. I'm only picking when I change strings. I do that a lot. Basically, that's it for the lick style thing. I basically wanted you to get the shape more than anything. There's so much you can do with that shape. You know, going to the diminished, going to the major, going to all that stuff. So basically, that's it for the licks.